Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and welcome into this edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and what a show I have lined up for you this week as we celebrate one of the greatest weeks on the golf calendar, which is Open Championship Week. Joining me are going to be two great friends of the show and two guys who have spent their lives teaching, coaching, mentoring, and giving back to this great game that we all love. And who are those two guys? Well, our good friend Frank Darby is back, as is our resident director of instruction, Tom Patri. Frank is a longtime co-host of a show that I'm sure you guys listen to out on SiriusXM. It's called On Course, alongside of Brian Kroll. As you probably know, Frank was a longtime head coach at St. John, spent over 20 years coaching the men's golf team there, helped them to great success. Go back to the 2014 Big East Championship that he helped coach them through. One of the players that he coached while he was there was 2011 PGA Champion Keegan Bradley. Now, Frank was recently honored with the prestigious Deacon Palmer Award, which recognizes annually the PGA professional who has demonstrated extraordinary character, overcoming personal adversity, and remained dedicated to mentoring others in the game. And if you know Frank's story, you know just how meaningful that honor is to him. A little over 2 years ago, we nearly lost him following a serious heart-related medical emergency. Frank fought his way back from that, and in the conversation, we'll talk about that journey, the honor of receiving the Deacon Palmer Award, and the joy he's found over a lifetime spent coaching and mentoring others. I'll also get his perspective on the great history and the impact of the Metropolitan PGA Section. The recent fan controversies, right, surrounding the major championships and the major events have been held on Long Island. And then, of course, we'll look ahead to this week's Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. Plus, Frank has apparently decided that I look a little like Ward Cleaver in a recent promotion that I put out there on Instagram. I can address that with him. You can bet on that. Then our resident director of instruction, Tom Patri, joins me. And by popular demand, we're starting off with more TP tips. Tom recently discovered something in his own putting setup that turned his fortunes around, and he's going to share what he found and how it can help you roll the putt better. We'll also celebrate a great student success from one of his junior players. We'll look ahead to this week's Open Championship at Royal Birkdale and one of the most underrated champions in the history of our game, the great Peter Thompson. And wait until you hear Tom describe golfing hell. Apparently it involves playing Oakmont and Carnoustie over and over again for the rest of eternity. We'll also hear about Tom's incredible annual marathon of golf as he prepares to take another run at his record of 156 holes played in one day, all while raising money for some very worthy charities. It's an episode filled with great friends, great stories, golf history, plenty of laughs, and as always, advice you can take with you right to the practice range. I'm so grateful, folks, that I get to, first of all, have Frank and Tom with me and to share this episode. And I'm even more grateful, as always, that you are here and you decided to press play on the episode as well. Thank you so much. You guys know how much I appreciate each and every one of you. So sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next hour or so. One other favor before we get started, and like I've been saying over the last several months, if you would do me just a really quick favor, wherever you're listening to this show today, if you would click the subscribe button. You guys know about algorithms and how important it is to get this show in front of other people. It really is based on you guys subscribing and even commenting, if you don't mind, on the show as well by rating it. So if you would, just press the subscribe button. And if you're feeling, like I say, extra generous and you want to go in there and leave us a rating and a comment, it would go a huge way to the growth of this show and to getting in front of more wonderful golf enthusiasts just like you. I appreciate it very much. Before I bring on my first guest, I want to give you guys something that has just really stuck with me, and it's some products that I have been really impressed with. Now, they're local Pittsburgh products, but you can get them anywhere. It doesn't matter. They'll ship them wherever you're at. But two things that I am a huge fan of are hot sauce, and I love spices because I do the majority of the cooking in the house. And there are two companies that just knocked my socks off when I reached out. And look, they're not paying for this ad. This isn't a paid endorsement or anything. I just am so impressed that I want you to know about them and give you an opportunity to try them. And that is Artie's Hot Sauce. Huge fan of hot sauce. That's a big thing for me. Plus Steel City Salt. They have so many wonderful spice blends that I wanted to make you guys aware of them. If you're an enthusiast of either hot sauce or great spices that are going to light up everything that you put them on, I wanted to make you aware of them. I love trying different sauces and finding ones that have the perfect blend between heat and flavor. And a lot of sauces can bring the heat, but they've got no flavor behind it. Now, that is why I've become a huge fan of Artie's Hot Sauce. Artie's has found that sweet spot. His sauces bring plenty of flavor first and then the right amount of kick behind it. Whether you're putting it on wings, taco, burgers, eggs, pizza, or just about anything else, Artie's Hot Sauce makes everything that you have taste better. If you're a fellow hot sauce lover, you've got to go give them a try. You can find them out online at artieshotsauce.com. I also want to give a shout out to the Steel City Salt Company. Their handcrafted spice blends and seasonings are out of this world fantastic. I've become a big fan of several of them, including the Steel City Steak Seasoning, Black and Gold Blend, and their Pittsburgh Pepper Blend. I added them when I do things like grill out steak, grill out chicken. I sprinkle them on vegetables to give those an extra kick. I'm also a big pickle fan, so their dill pickle salt is going to knock your socks off. Not to mention their Pittsburgh's Little Italy, which I started to include in my Sunday red sauce recipe and sprinkle on top of pasta to give it an added burst of flavor. Their Black and Gold Blend, Yinzer Dust, and Love Pittsburgh Everything Salt is great on things like fries, eggs, the baked salmon that I make. John and the crew over there are going to grab you by the taste buds, and they're not going to let go. You're going to enjoy the attention that goes into each and every one of their blends. You're going to love it. I promise you. Go out there and check it out online for yourself. SteelCitySalt.com. You know I also have a huge dose of vitamin G for everybody over at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review and TribLive.com. TribLive.com is the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, and a podcast network, which is where you can find Next on the Tee. Bookmark TribLive.com or download the TribLive app for free and stay up to date with the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Check out all of their wonderful beers and their gift shop by going online to pittsburghbrewing.com. All right, now back in Next on the Tee with me is Frank Darby. I'm sure you know Frank from his show On Course, which airs on SiriusXM's PGA Tour channel, partners with Brian Kroll, and their show is absolutely fantastic. Frank graduated from St. John's University and would later coach the men's golf team there for 20 years. Led them to the 2014 Big East title and was named Coach of the Year that season. Among the many great players that he's coached over the years, we all know, was 2011 PGA Champion Keegan Bradley. Frank has been active in the Metropolitan Section for over 30 years now. He served as Tournament Operations Director, and he received recently the Deacon Palmer Award, which is given annually to the PGA professional who displays extraordinary character, overcomes personal adversity, and remains a dedicated mentor in the game. So it is with my extreme privilege that I get to have him back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Frank, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. Thanks for that nice intro. And I'm glad you only said 30 years because I've been with the Met PGA section for, geez, probably more high 40s,
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I've been a PGA member for 44 years now. And so I'm giving my age away there as well. But like I said, I was in the Illinois section for 3 years, and then everything else has been here in the Met section, which in my eyes is probably the best section in the country.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Met section here in a little bit, but I want to start off, obviously, congrats, my friend, on the Deacon Palmer Award. I'm not sure on that whole extraordinary character part, but certainly on the mentoring piece. What was it like for you when you learned that they were going to honor you in your career?
Well, I'm looking at the description right here that they sent me. They didn't say anything about integrity, character, and leadership. They left that line out. They probably put it in the other thing for the other guy. But yeah, hey, listen, it's an honor to be recognized by your peers, and it's been a while since I've got any kind of award, and I'm glad I finally got it, and I guess overcoming what happened to me, with my medical incident, and everything is even better right now than it was before I had it, so no complaints.
So for people who don't know, Frank, we almost lost you 2.5 years ago. If you don't mind, I mean, you don't have to get into all the details, but let them know what you came back from.
Yeah, well, we collect bottles and bring them back to ShopRite here and return them into the machines. And then my daughter donates the money. And I was doing it one day. Of course, she doesn't do it. I've got to go do it, which is, I have no problems with that as well. But, and I was just putting bottles into the machine, and I passed out. I went down, and I guess my heart stopped. To this day, they think it wasn't any kind of blockage. It might have been an electrical thing. I think a lot of the times these heart things are 2 or 3 combinations of things come together. And luckily, their people were at ShopRite. The managers are trained in CPR, so a guy named Freddie Cruz, who was the grocery manager, saw it in a video monitor that they have a camera outside, and he came out and he revived me with CPR. Did a good job because he broke like 4 or 5 ribs, which is the sign that you know what you're doing with CPR. And luckily the fireman was shopping there, and I guess EMT was in the lot as well. So they got me to the hospital within maybe 10 minutes at the most. And, I seem to be okay. They ended up putting in a defibrillator and a pacemaker in me for, 2.5 years ago. And it's been great ever since. Feel great. And, I'm kind of monitored all the time. So it's good. And it's a nice, safety net there.
Oh, well, thank God that they saw it and all worked out that way. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Thank God we still have you.
Yeah, me too.
So just in general then, Frank, I kind of looking back over the span of your career, what's brought you the most joy? Was it coaching at St. John's? Was it being a part of the Met section and all you've achieved there? What's brought you the most joy over the course of your career?
Well, hey, Chris, I've had a very different kind of PGA career. I mean, I was a pretty good player growing up, but I always wanted to be a club professional. I caddied at this great club called North Hills in Manhasset, and I had one of these older golf professionals, Joe Ennis, was there, and I liked what he did. And before that, I had worked in Barrington, Illinois, for a real good golf professional named Lee Milligan, who was Andy North's teacher and taught me how to teach and swing the club head. And then I came back to the Met section because I wanted to play a little bit, and then I got my own head spot. And I stayed at Nissaquag for, 13 years. Then I opened a real high-end daily fee golf course called Colonial Springs. And then, that kind of fizzled a little bit. And then I was kind of playing a lot. And then St. John's called, and, the old coach who was my coach passed away. And they said, well, how about just taking it over for a year or so and, just get them back on track here a little bit and go. And 23 years later, I was still there, which was great. I really enjoyed it. And, so like I stayed there for a while. I went to Manhattan, but now I'm part of an inside uh, indoor simulator place called Golf Lounge 18. We have 14 facilities from Boston to Long Island here, and TrackMan, full restaurants, full bar. So I'm having a lot of fun teaching there, kind of like being kind of like a consultant, and also getting to work with all the juniors in the recruiting end of it and what they have to do. So I've been kind of doing a lot of different things. Plus, the radio with SiriusXM. So, I'm trying to figure out what part of being a golf professional I haven't covered yet. I'm looking. I'm looking for something. I don't know. I'm bored again. I'm kidding, but yeah. So it's been, hey, listen. I think that one thing that it's hard to do now, but I wish I would have done it a little bit earlier in my career when I was a head professional. I think you got to kind of try and only stay at one club for maybe 7 or 8 years instead of stretching it out a little bit. I think even that means making some lateral moves sometimes too, because they find out about you, you find out about them, and sometimes you just need that new challenge every once in a while. So I'm glad I got to do a lot of different things because, that's what life's all about, man. It's all about challenges and overcoming things.
Indeed. And you talked about the Met section, and I've been blessed to have a few of your peers from the Met section on the show, John Kennedy, Rob Labritz, and of course, our great friend Tom Patri from his past. For people who aren't aware, talk about what the Met section encompasses and the great things that you guys do up there every year.
Well, the one thing that I got out of, like I said, I mentioned some of the older golf professionals that I was around when I was, between 20 and 30. There was so many great, fantastic players that, were responsible for the forming of the PGA of America that were at these wonderful golf clubs for 30 and 40 years. Guys like, hey, John Kennedy interviewed me for my PGA membership a long
Is that
time
right?
ago. Yeah, I was there with him and a guy named Harvey Lannick, who happens to be very friendly with Tom. And then, so I got to be around all these great guys. Bob Watson, who was the head professional forever at Westchester Country Club. Gene Borick, who was the, great, and then great golf professional at Metropolis. And, so then after I had left the professional ranks as a club professional, working in tournament operations for the Met PGA, I mean, it's just amazing how many just great teachers, players, organizers, golf shop guys, guys like Darrell Kestner, we all missed Rick Hartman, who passed away. But so it was just so cool being around all this kind of like diverse bunch of people from all over the country that came here. I mean, Tom Patri was very close with Harry Lighthorse Cooper when he was at Westchester Country Club. So you go to these meetings and I always was lucky because, like I said, I worked for Joe Ennis, who was probably, in his 60s when I was in my mid 20s. And he hooked me up with all the older guys. And that's how I learned. I had a lot of really good mentors growing up. And then the Met section, hey, between the players and the teachers and just the wonderful golf clubs. And, and I think the one thing that really has kind of helped me is just being around all these great clubs, getting to know not only the golf professionals, but general managers. And I'm very close with all the superintendents because, doing setups, I was always part of their crew when we had, our big Metropolitan PGA events like the State Open. And, we had over 100 events a year. And it was pretty mind-boggling trying to stay on top of that.
For a young PGA or LPGA professional who is just coming into the business, what's a piece of advice? So they came to Frank Darby and said, gee, Frank, you had such a wonderful career. What's a piece of advice that you would give me as I'm starting out my career? What would you tell them?
I think one of the best things is make sure you get yourself at a great club. Just make sure, and it's tricky, but even if it means starting in the bag room and working your way up, and I think it's so important because the contacts are unbelievable. Just all the people, and with as many people in the Mets section that are also in Florida during the winter months, gives you an opportunity for maybe a job down there as well. But just get to make sure you've got a mentor somewhere along the way. And I give them FPGA credit because they are trying to they got a mentor program going right now. And, they're assigning assistants to different club professionals and PGA members to try to help them, kind of just get a job somewhere, get their own head jobs, because that is the one tricky thing about this Mets section. I mean, there's so many golf professionals, so many capable assistants that are, a head job opens, and man, there's 100 guys going after a job. So, sometimes you almost got to leave the section to be able to come back.
Frank, switching gears a little bit, I want to get your perspective. This is something TP and I were talking about a week or two ago, because we've had two of the biggest events in golf recently held there on Long Island. We had the Ryder Cup last year at Bethpage. We had the U.S. Open just recently here at Shinnecock. And at both, we've seen some fan-related issues. We all know about Rory McIlroy and the issues that he had last year at the Ryder Cup. Don Ray's unfortunate comments afterwards that cost him his position. Then we saw fans booing Wyndham Clark at the U.S. Open, which I'm sure links back to his behavior last year at the U.S. Open at Oakmont when he kicked in some of those historical lockers. Plus, I'm sure some people wanted to see Scotty win just because they were either rooting for Scotty or wanted to see him complete the career Grand Slam. But we've had people in the industry like Eamon Lynch suggest that we shouldn't have any more major events out there on Long Island because of how the fans have acted. Your thoughts? How do you feel about what's gone on there over the last year?
Well, the last year, I think both events, it was embarrassing for everybody out there. I mean, and again, I'm not going to start defending the New Yorkers. I grew up in Queens. I'm like Mike Diffley and Tom Patri. We're Long Islanders, true and true. I think that when the PGA Championship was there, when Brooks Koepka won, and when the two U.S. Opens were there, the fans behaved really, really well, because I think it was a little bit more of a true indicator of the working people on Long Island. I think a lot of the Ryder Cup, and believe me, I'm not making excuses, because what they did was embarrassing and 100% wrong. But I think a lot of it was corporate driven. I think there was a lot of people there that weren't true Long Islanders. And I think it's also the way of the world. I mean, like people are starting to compare, well, look at Waste Management. Waste Management is a whole different story out there. Those fans behave, the New Yorkers didn't. I thought what they were doing with, with Clark, with Wyndham Clark out there was embarrassing. I mean, I can't understand it, but I tell you what, I'm proud of what Wyndham Clark did, and I'm a big fan of him correcting what happened. He was very sorry about what happened at Oakmont in the locker room. Lots of people have had locker room incidents. Look at a lot of the other sports guys. I always got a kick out of Paul O'Neill beating the daylights out of water coolers, and that's just. Hey, listen, it was an unfortunate scenario that happened out there. He apologized, and I give him credit because he's got himself a fantastic sports psychologist in Julie Elion, and there's a great book out right now, which I'm just finishing up reading, Mastering Your Mental Game. And he turned it around. And I think that, he's very remorseful about what he did, and he's trying to get these fans back. And hey, listen, he's a great player. I think that we deserve another chance out there. And, let's hope the fans can kind of relate to what happened with the last month with the World Cup. I mean, how great are all these fans coming over? They're just been such a great example of rooting for your team and doing it the right way. So, give us a little bit of a chance. I think we need to just make certain that we're educating the people a little bit more, make them more aware of what's going to happen as well. And I mean, I can't say anything, but I think that alcohol is playing a big part in this as well, because you've got all these trains running out from the city at different parts. Hey, that's just a different reason to have a few extra beers instead of driving your car.
Frank, I want to switch gears a little bit again, and here we are. It's Open Championship Week being played at Royal Birkdale. The last time we were here, it feels like it was the last time Jordan Spieth was relevant. We remember the last round, the great bogey he made on 13 from the driving range, the near ace on 14, the 50-foot eagle putt on 15, followed those with birdies on 16 and 17 to edge Matt Kuchar. It was one of the greatest finishes in a major that I've ever seen. But after that, it feels like Jordan kind of lost his way a little bit, chasing distance off the tee. What do you think went wrong for Jordan?
Yeah, I think that's the scenario. I think that, he did it when he was young. I think that, hey, he had all that fast success right there. Maybe he had to cut back a little bit on the practicing, which is what he needed. I think a lot of his swing was mechanical. And even when he was winning his big events, he would definitely make it exciting. He had a great short game as well. And then I think he started growing up, got married, had some kids, but I think he's on his way back. I like the way his swing is looking right here. And I think he's saying all the right things. And I give him credit that he's hung with Cameron McCormick for this long.
So who do you like this week?
Well, hey, listen, I love Cameron Young just because rooting for a New Yorker and an American, but I really like Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, geez, he grew up in this town. It would be an unbelievable story as well. But it's going to be pretty interesting because if you watch Golf Live and if you've been following it all the time, that place is going to be as fast as the Long Island Expressway. It's all burned out. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Bryson DeChambeau does. I mean, I think Bryson could play well there if he just gets smart and hits a lot of long irons off the tee. He doesn't need to hit driver, but he's going to hit driver as much as he can, and you know that. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a little bit of a wide open event, and you're going to definitely like the other guy that I'm a big fan of. I used to coach against when he was at Northwestern. Is Matt Fitzpatrick as great as he is playing? I think he doesn't really care. He just gets out there and plays the game as it's meant to play and be played, and just moves on from there.
Yeah, I think he's going to be tough to beat. If you told me, Chris, pick your foursome that you think are going to win this week, he would be at the top of my list.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's just a wonderful player, and I think you got to you got to be a great iron player over there. And I think that he flags it, and I think you got to watch out for Wyndham Clark. He's on a roll. He's playing great.
Yeah. Frank, before I let you go, I got one bone to pick with you, and I'm out there on Instagram promoting the show, and then I get this text from Frank Darby wondering if he has to be more respectful going forward because I look like Ward Cleaver out there. And I get on the phone with Tom Patri. I'm like, look at Darby. All of a sudden now with the Stones, it's like shots fired across the bow, right, TP?
Darbs, I was wondering if he looks like Ward Cleaver, are you Rock Hudson or Richard Gere?
I haven't figured it out yet.
I mean, Jesus Christ, Darbs. I mean, have you looked in the mirror at all, pal? My man who lives in a glass house shouldn't throw stones. I mean, come on.
No, but it was more of a jealous. I thought that was such a cool, introductory that he put
don't
out there.
don't back. Don't be back.
I thought it was great.
Take the shot as you deserve it. Now, come on. Just come on.
Oh, I've been taking shots my whole life. I could care less.
How are you? How you doing, man? You okay?
Good. Yeah, really good. Yeah, no complaints. And I'm looking forward to the book that's coming out. I mentioned it before on the show to Chris. Maybe we weren't on yet, but I'd be interested to see who you plagiarized from.
I got so much shit in my basket. I don't have to plagiarize from anybody. Trust me.
But no, looking forward to it. And hey, when is it coming out?
I would hope. It's funny you said it, George. I was on a 2-hour meeting today with people helping me with it, and we're shooting for kind of this time next summer. That's what we're hoping for. Yeah.
All right, well, let's make sure we help you promote the book and come on the shows. And I'm sure Chris may have you on to promote that. I'm not sure.
There's a good chance.
I'm getting ready to get fired. Chris is going to fire me soon. I'm running out of shit.
Yeah, he's actually been talking to me a little bit at night. He told me not to mention anything about that.
Okay.
Frank, that was supposed to be between you and me.
I got to take you already took a shot at us New Yorkers. So, but that's all right. Like I said, we'll all behave when the PGA Championship rolls around, and I think that's going to be a good time by all.
No doubt. Frank, before I let you go, you mentioned Golf Lounge 18. Remind everybody again about that and how they can listen to you and Brian and also follow you on social media.
Yeah, so Golf Lounge 18, we have 14 facilities from Boston down to Long Island. You can follow us at golflounge18.com. We got a really good website. Brian and I are on Sunday mornings, 10 o'clock live, Channel 92 on Sirius. We had a great guest on Sunday. We love having Andrew McGee on. Chris, you got to get Andrew McGee on one time. He is phenomenal. Just the stories he has, because he grew up in that time as well. So we love having it. We have a lot of great guests coming on, and you can follow me on. I'm on Instagram and X as well. So I'm gonna get creative one of these days and put a cardigan sweater on and kind of copy you right there.
I look forward to the picture, Darby.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't wait. Yeah, Frank, you're the best, my friend. I can't think. It's always a huge thrill getting to spend some time with you. Always make the segment so much fun. I hope we get this privilege again with you soon.
Oh, anytime. TP, thanks. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Darbs.
See you, Frank.
Right, see you guys.
That is the great Frank Darby, folks, and at @FDarbs is where you're going to find him on social media. Golf Lounge 18 sounds very intriguing to me. Go out there and check that out. I know I am when the show is over. I'm looking forward to learning more about that. And look, Frank is just one of the great guys that we have in our game. I mean, we kid him a lot, but a guy that certainly deserved the Deacon Palmer Award for everything that he has meant to the Mets section over the years. Tom, I'm sure you agree. He's just been a staple in the Mets section for, as Darb said at the beginning, it's actually over 40 years now. That's a heck of a run.
He, Chris, I've known Darbs since I was 14 years old. How's that? So we go back a ways. We played junior golf against each other and grew up in the business together. And, like he said in the interview, he's touched a lot of bases in his career and done a lot of different things, kind of a jack of all trades, but a really good guy, a guy who loves golf, just like we all do. And he's done a hell of a job in the Mets section.
Yeah, he has. And we'll be right back. You guys have heard me talking about and bragging about the things that are going on up at Macklemore. It's an unbelievable golf resort and destination. Let me remind you about what they have going on this year. Get ready to experience a game like never before at the Keep, the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course at Macklemore. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round here is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore. The Keep is open and it's waiting for you. And folks, if you haven't tried 2 Under yet, you really need to. Why? Well, from the first tee to the clubhouse, 2 Under's Joey Pouch is going to keep you comfortable and locked in all round or all day. Build your own bundle by going online to 2 Under, that's the number 2, UNDR.com, and save up to 20%. All right, so I want to start our time together by listening to what our listeners have said. They want more TP tips at the top of the segment, please. So we're going to start right there. You were telling me the other day that you were struggling with your putting, and you have been so far to this point in the season, until something clicked the other day. Tell everybody what clicked.
Struggling would be an understatement, Chris. I mean, I've always been a really good putter, and this summer, I've played a few events already, and it's not been bad. It's been horrific. I mean, like it's never been that bad before, ever. And I've always kept notes throughout my career. I started taking notes and writing them in a little journal back in 1980. And they're these little journals you can buy in Staples that have 100 pages in them. I filled up 8 of those in my life. I've kept every one of them. I date it. something clicks, something feels good, something happens. I just make a little entry in there. So I have 8 volumes of these notebooks where I have notes in them. And when I started struggling, I wasn't smart enough to go back to the book right away. But recently, I said, "Guys, let me go back through my notes and see if anything jumps out at me that I wrote about putting." I went all the way back to 1980 in my junior year at Florida Southern, and I made some entries about what I called putting Nicklaus style, which was kind of, if you remember how Jack kind of putted, he was kind of open with his feet, kind of hunched over. His head was kind of behind the line of the golf ball. His head was kind of cocked to the left a little bit, looking at the putt from kind of behind the blade, looking down the line. And I made several entries in 80 and 81 about putting that way. And in 80 and 81, in my last years of my college career, that's probably the best I've ever putted in my life. Because I sure as hell didn't hit it that good, and was able to win. So, something clicked, and I went out to the putting green. I said, I'm going to go back and kind of set up differently and kind of feel this and see if I can find this, this feeling of this setup again. And the big problem when I started going bad this summer was I couldn't get the ball started on the line. I just couldn't get comfortable over it. The speed control was fine, but the starting lines were never any good. And almost instantly setting up that way, I mean, literally almost instantly, every ball started on the line. And I thought to myself, how do we get away from things that we were successful at? And I felt really foolish, because you and I have been pretty critical of Jordan Spieth during his run, how well he putted, looking at the hole, and how he's gotten away from that. And one of the things that Darb said there that I don't agree with is that he said, he and Cameron McCormick have got it all figured out. Why don't I'll believe it when I see it. But I went back to this style, and things changed instantly. And it's only been a week now since I've been in that different setup condition, but so far markedly different. So fingers crossed. I've got an event coming up this coming week, a senior pro event with my partner. So that'll be a good test to see if it holds up when it counts. But it's amazing that when you lose something and you get away from something that you had success with, how you forget where you were. And thank God I took all those notes. But those 8 journals that I have, I'm going to be using them a lot more in the future.
Along those same lines, TP, one of the things that has always baffled me, I mean, to me, Jack was the greatest putter on the planet forever. I mean, to this day, I mean, he's what, 89?
Yeah.
If there was a 10-foot putt to make it for my life, who would I want to putt it? It still would be Jack Nicklaus. And no one ever copied the way Nicklaus putted. I never could understand when you have a guy that made almost everything, every putt he had to make, he made it. And no one ever copied it. It's sort of something. I mean, look, Tiger's a great putter, obviously. He's one of the greatest ever as well. Bobby Locke was also one of the greatest putters who ever lived. I would never want to try to figure out how to copy his stroke. But Jack, it just seems like it just always baffled me, TP, why no one has ever copied how he did it.
I think if you take what you just mentioned, Chris, because it's really valid, Jack had a very particular style. Bobby Locke certainly had a particular style. I was actually fortunate to meet Bobby Locke in 1984 in South Africa when I played over there. He almost kind of hooked his putts. You look at something like Crenshaw, who has a very different putting stroke than Locke or Nicklaus. And then Spieth looking at the hole in that great run in 15. They're all very, very different. They're unique. So putting is a part of the game. I say this to people all the time. That's very, very unique and very, very personal. And although there are certain things that have to happen in the putting stroke, you've got to find something you're comfortable with. You've got to be, when you're under pressure, you've got to stand over the ball and feel comfortable with what you're doing. It's definitely a unique animal, and there are the rules to the full swing and the rules to putting don't really cross anywhere. There are no crossroads there. It's something that it's very, very personal, and you've got to find something that you can. Again, in your setup condition, you've got to be comfortable with what you're doing. I mean, Ben Crenshaw looks nothing like Jack Nicklaus setting up the golf ball. Nothing at all. It's a very unique and elusive animal sometimes, but nobody's ever copied Jack, and there's only one Ben Crenshaw. So the thing I disagree with you on is that I think Jack was a great clutch putter from 10 feet and in, maybe the best ever, and a good lag putter, but not a great lag putter. Crenshaw, on the other hand, from a million miles away from the hole, always had the ball going the right speed. The ball never looked like it was not going the right speed. You never saw Crenshaw blow one 10 feet by or leave one 5 feet short, ever. The lag putting and the touch was phenomenal. So there were different skills there, and different mindsets. Great laggers and great short putters have slightly different mindsets. Tiger, on the other hand, I thought occupied a little bit of jack in his clutch putting from 10 feet and in, and certainly had great distance control. We saw that at Valhalla, obviously, when he beat Bob May, with some of the longer putts he made, and certainly at TPC when he won. So there's a lot to unpack there with putting.
I want to give you an opportunity to toot your own horn because you've had a recent student have a success story. You published that out on your Instagram page, a young man who's been playing really well. Talk about him.
Yeah, I have a young man named Ishan Addy, who's been with me. He and his brother have been with me since Ishan since he was 11, and he's 17 now. I think that's correct. Different kids, junior golfers are strange animals. Different kids click at different times. Some kids click really early and they burn out. They never really fulfill the promise you think they might have had. And some kids struggle. Although they look good doing it, they don't really get the job done. And all of a sudden, something happens, and things you've been working on for 4 or 5 or 6 years all of a sudden fall into place, and they fall right in their lap. So Ishan's a kid who, if you watch him swing at it, even as an 11, 12-year-old, you think, man, this kid's going to shoot nothing. And he's always been kind of a 75, 74, 76 shooter when the heat was on, or even playing casually. He just never shot a really low number. And then last week he went out and playing in a practice round for a tournament with a friend, shot 30-36. And I said to him, didn't feel that much different, did he? He goes, it really didn't, coach. It just kind of happened. People like Rotella and some of the great sports psychologists talk about being in the zone and where does it come from and how did it fall out of the whole, did it fall out of the sky like the Holy Grail and anointed you? But when you have those breakthroughs, I remember for me, my freshman year in college, I went to my freshman year in college as a pretty good junior player, but I'd never broken 70. Chris, I shot 70, double bogey in the last hole, bogey in the last hole, birdie in the last 2 holes, but never broke 70. And I remember my freshman year on the team I was on, everybody was shooting 67, 68, 66, 65, in qualifying. And the best Tom could muster was 70. And went out one day, not thinking anything about it in the qualifying round. And I don't know what happened, but instead of breaking 70, I shot 64.
Wow.
So, I remember getting done thinking, it's just going to be hard for people to believe. While it was happening, I didn't know it was happening. I didn't say, oh, I'm 6 under, I'm 7 under, I'm 8 under. And I got to the 18th hole and I drove it pretty good on 18. It was a par 5. I knocked on the screen and I made about 30-footer for eagle on the last hole. And one of my teammates I was qualifying with said to me, that's a hell of a round, Tom. I said, yeah. And I thought I had like 67 or 68. And I finally broke 7. He said, 64. I said, 64. I said, are you sure? I said, I didn't know what I shot. I was that kind of, I guess, in the zone. Just was going through the motions and had no conscious idea of what was really happening. And it's funny. So I shot 64 that day, and in the next 2.5, 3 weeks, I broke 70 4 or 5 times. But the proverbial psychological wall was down, and that's what it seems to happen. So I think for Ishan, that round of 66 probably has opened the door for him to say, I guess I'm capable of that. And that psychological breakthrough is a big deal for kids.
Well, I think it's a big deal for anybody. As you mentioned, you went on to do it several times after that. It's kind of like when you were telling the story, I was thinking back to Phil Mickelson and winning a major. Right? How many tournaments did Phil win before he finally won a major? And then he won one, and then he won 6. So it's like that, that mental block, I guess, something for Dr. Bob Winters. Like, what is that mental block that happens that once we get through that, it's like I don't know if we relax at that point or our talent can finally come through because we're not psychologically psyching ourselves out. You talked about how you got close to breaking 70 a couple times and you bogey 18 or you bogey 17 and 18 to not do it. Right? I feel like there's something back in our subconscious that restrains us. And once it's gone, then we can, fulfill maybe, what our promise was or however you want to look at it.
The best comparison I can make, Kristen, is the 4-minute mile. For a long time, the medical professionals told the world that the male runner could not break. It was a physical impossibility to run a sub 4-minute mile. And then Roger Bannister, as we know, broke the 4-minute mile barely. And then, if you know this or not, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, like 4 other runners broke the 4-minute mile. It was like, I guess it's possible. We've always been told it was impossible medically to do this, and I guess they were wrong. So why can't we? If Roger can do it, we can do it. It's the thing we know the least about in sport and in life. The organ we know the least about is the human brain and what it's capable of. And I think when you look at the PGA Tour player nowadays and they shoot 19, 20, 25 under for 72 holes, think about how many putts are holed, how many shots are hit over the course of 4 days to shoot 20 plus under par. It's an amazing feat if you think about it. And I think my average player, my club player, doesn't realize how incredible 20 or 21 or 22 under par is for 72 holes. And they kind of slough it off. I say to guys all the time, I said, how long will it take you this coming season to make 20 birdies? Will it take you the whole winter to make 20 birdies? Will you make 20 birdies this winter? And the PGA Tour player does it in 4 days all the time. It's an incredible feat if you think about it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I've talked with Gary Player about this a lot, and we've talked about it in terms of he and Jack Nicklaus, but, winning a major, right? Jack used to say all the time that a major is one of the easiest things to win because there's only a handful of guys who think they are capable of winning.
I agree 1,000%. I think we're going to see that at Birkdale this week. I mean, you have one of the largest fields in golf in a major and a very, very strong field, very, very talented people. But truthfully, if you sit down and look at the field sheet, unless there's an anomaly this week, unless there's one of those rare wins that we see sometimes happen, you can probably list 12 guys who are going to be in contention or can possibly really win, maybe 20 at the most. But and I don't want to call the rest of those guys field fillers, but the truth of the matter is, in these situations that have immense pressure and so much importance, the cream kind of rises to the top. Tiger proved that. Jack proved that. Arnold proved that. Bobby Jones proved that. You look at the list of major champions, and it's really it's all very predictable, it seems like.
So let's talk about the Open Championship this week at Birkdale, because when you look down the history list, right, that it's hosted an Open 10 times. A guy that we talked about recently and David Graham commented on when he joined me a couple of weeks ago was Peter Thompson, who won it there twice in 1954 and again in 65. Arnold Palmer won an Open there in 61, Trevino in 71, Johnny Miller in 76, Tom Watson in 83. Ian Baker Finch, who's a wonderful friend of the show, won his there in 91. Mark O'Meara wins it there in 98. Patrick Harrington in 2008. Jordan Spieth the last time that it was held there in 2017. Mark Wiebe, another wonderful friend of the show, won a Senior Open back there in 2012. So not a bad list of champions that get to say that they won an Open there at Royal Birkdale.
That's kind of like a who's who list. Really is a Hall of Fame who's list. I mean, the weakest name on that list is probably Jordan Spieth, and that's pretty good. And he's a pretty good player. But you look at that list, and Peter Thompson, which I'm Chris, we've talked about this a lot. I'm a big golf history buff. 5 Open championships. I mean, his resume. How many around the world has he won?
Won 105 professional tournaments around the world.
How many Australian Opens?
3 Australian Opens, 9 New Zealand Opens.
Right.
Unbelievable.
I mean, 5 Open championships.
And 5 Open championships.
Yeah. And won 9 times on the Champions Tour. Is that correct?
In 1 year, yeah. In 85, he won 9 times on what was then the Senior Tour, which is still a record. It's been tied by Hale Irwin, but 9 times in a season. Unbelievable.
And the Peter Thompsons of the world and the Billy Caspers of the world, to me, historically, are so often overlooked and had incredible records, lifelong records and great, results in major championships. But Peter was a little bit before the time of, international players spending a lot of time over here in their prime. There was along with, with the exception of Gary Player, not many guys did it. And not many guys in that era went across to play in the Open Championship. Really, Arnold was the one who really opened the floodgates for that. So I think he gets overlooked a little bit, and sadly so, because he is a hell of a player, a hell of a swinger of the golf club, and a great ambassador to the game, as was Player. So yeah, and again, Billy Casper was not very marketable because he was a very quiet guy. He was a Mormon and was not very braggadocious and wasn't very loud, and kind of an overweight kind of guy, a little bit kind of frumpy, if you will. Wasn't an athletic looking guy, but was a hell of a player and a hell of a record. I think one of the things that saddens me today is so many of our juniors don't really care to learn much about golf history and what's available to them in terms of educating them how to play the game. But those guys could really play the game, man. Really play the game.
Yeah, they could. All right, so who do you like this week?
Well, I always like the lowest score, Chris. The lowest
sure
score
you do.
Always wins. But I mean, who I like and who I want are actually the same people this week.
Is that right?
Yeah,
that's rare for you.
Yeah, Tommy Fleetwood and Justin Rose.
Really?
Obviously Tommy Fleetwood, the hometown favorite, as Frank his interview.
Yeah,
is obviously playing good golf and is a hometown fan. I don't think Tommy will be overwhelmed by being at home. I think he's really comfortable being at home. He's a family guy, and I think he really looking forward to this. I don't think he's the kind that's going to press hard just because he's home. I think he loves the golf course. He loves the aura of the Open Championship, and he's playing good golf. And Justin Rose, the clock's ticking, but certainly, revels in the Open Championship, has great respect for it, a wonderful ball strike, and knows how to play in those conditions extremely well, and has a maturity about his game that, can handle the stage. So those are my two picks this week.
All right. One more before I let you go. And one thing that I got a chuckle out of, and I want you to explain to our listeners. We were talking about a lot of different things, and the subject of Oakmont came up, and I asked you if you ever played there, and you told me you'd played there a few times. And then you talked about a situation, if you will, is if you're a really horrible person here on earth, but you're a golf fan and you end up going to golf hell, you're going to be sent to do what?
If you're a golf fan and you're a bad human being and you're sent to the fiery hell of golf, you're going to have to play Oakmont and Carnoustie on alternating days for eternity, because that would absolutely be worse than fire and brimstone. I've had the good fortune, and it is good fortune, to play both of those places. The first time I played Carnoustie was in a really windy, not very friendly condition, and I think I shot 81, but felt like I shot 105. It was just so brutally hard. And I played Oakmont probably with our friend Bob Ford, probably 5 or 6 times. And I think, and I played pretty good every time I played there. And I think the best I've had there is 76 or 75. And I mean, I felt like I shot 63. Those two places, and very different hard. They're very, very different styles of golf courses, but just incredibly penal if you don't hit every shot on the button. And I mean on the button. And then obviously the shots around the greens of Carnoustie with the firm and fast are hard. And then the putting at Oakmont, not that Oakmont's easy from tee to green, because it's not. But once you get on the surfaces, boy, if you're not putting the ball really, really well and don't have really control of your speed, you're going to be out there for the rest of your life playing hockey. So it's pretty hard.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Tom, before I let you go, you've got your marathon golf event coming up here soon, and it looks like the pledges are rolling in. Kudos to you, my friend. Let everybody know how they can pledge, what you're doing, and what your goal is.
Well, every year, Chris, I play a marathon for the South Florida PGA Foundation, which is an incredible foundation that benefits so many people in need in South Florida, as well as junior golf in South Florida. Habitat for Humanity, Nicholas Children's Hospital, and a bevy of other great charities. And they need all the help they can get to do the work that they do. So 10 years ago, I started doing this marathon once a year for the foundation. I think my record in a day is 156 holes. So we're trying to break that this year, but we've already got pledges of over 20,000, which puts us over the $100,000 mark for the entirety of that 10 years. I'm happy to do it. It's on July 28th this year. If anybody's interested, they can just email me, tpatrigolf@gmail.com, tpatrigolf@gmail.com, and I can send them a link that goes to the South Florida PGA headquarters to make a donation. I wish everybody would be as generous as possible. Every dollar counts. I don't care if it's a $20 pledge or a $2,000 pledge. Every dollar counts. And people have really stepped up this year. I think previous this year, the highest we did in a year was 11,000, and this year we're at 20. So people have really been generous this year, and it's really appreciated. And I hope that every dollar goes to help somebody in South Florida.
There you go. TP, you're the best, my friend. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this week's show. Again, good luck with, we got to get those pledges up, so we'll keep plugging that. And I'm certainly, obviously, rooting hard for you. 156 holes. That's a lot of golf.
Chris, more importantly, just say a couple of prayers for that putting stroke. I need some more help.
Indeed.
Thanks,
TP,
buddy.
Take care, my friend. We'll catch you soon.
Bye, buddy.
See ya. That's a great Tom Patri, tpatrigolf@gmail.com. Let's try to get those pledges even higher. Unbelievable. Great guy doing great things, and it goes to a great cause. So that's the most important thing. He's been doing this for a lot of years. He's over $100,000 now that he has raised for those charities. So it's a wonderful thing that he is doing and taking care of people that need help down there in South Florida that are a part of the PGA South Florida section. So let's get him in there, email Tom, and we'll look forward to hearing from him in a couple of weeks and how it went. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this very fun edition of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks go out again to Frank Darby and Tom Patri for joining me. Coming up in the next episode, I've got something very special lined up for you. I have an opportunity to sit down with both Tim Simpson and Chip Beck, both four-time winners on tour. Their careers really paralleled one another. I mean, there was a point in time when they were handing the trophy to the USF&G Classic in Louisiana back and forth to one another. They also were in a very similar position at the Walt Disney World Classic. We'll talk about that. They were college roommates at the University of Georgia, so it really all started there. So we'll talk about their college days. You'll learn a little bit about both of those guys in the early parts of their career and then as they got out on tour, and the special relationship that has endured for nearly 50 years for those guys, and some times when the PGA Tour and the broadcasts weren't as nice to Chip as he went through an equipment change and then a really long drought of trying to figure out his game. They weren't kind to him, and Tim wasn't having it. You'll hear that story as well. As always, I want to thank our friends over at Trib Live for being such wonderful partners and for hosting the show on their site. As you guys know, for the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, go check out triblive.com, and you can find the show by clicking on the Sports Section tab, the most recent episode, front and center on the homepage for you right there on the Sports Section. Or you can type in podcast.triblive.com. You'll see Next on the Tee. Click on that. Many of the most recent episodes from this season are available for you there. But as you know, you can find the show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. We're out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, golfnewsnet.com. And I also want to invite all of you to subscribe. It's free to my page on Substack. You're going to get a lot of articles on there, things I don't post anywhere else. You're also going to have an opportunity. You can stream the show on there for you as well. So you want to get everything in one spot, you can go to Substack. Please subscribe. It means a great deal to me. And subscribe wherever you happen to be listening to this show today. You guys know all about the algorithm. When you subscribe, it gets this show in front of more great golf enthusiasts just like you. Folks, as I say each and every week, you guys are the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, barring none. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.